CNN architecture, in addition to detecting, we will also locate the objects or images in terms of like a bounding box. This is the example, typical output of RCNN, that is region CNN. We can see the car, there is a human, then horse, dog, and some more objects we can see. The output of RCNN is generally set of bounding boxes that closely match each of the detector objects as well as a class output for each detector object. Okay. So now, what are the difference between traditional CNN approach and the region CNN approach? This CNN is primarily used for image classification, but region CNN is used for object detection. CNN can only provide a class of the objects. The location of the object is not identified, and CNN also does not perform well when there are multiple objects due to interference. So actually, in another way we can say that it's not a problem with the CNN. CNN is the architecture. The way you use the CNN, we can tell whether it is useful for detecting single object or multiple object. It's not actually, but people are, means when you see the research paper, so just he want to what is called highlight his contributions, but he is saying that we can agree that it can be useful for CNN, what is called image classification, provide only the class of object, and the location of the object is not, particularly is not identified, and it does not perform well when there are multiple objects. So these are not a limitation of the CNN architecture. Because in this framework also, the second stage is the CNN. He has the three modules. The first module is the region proposal or generation of region proposal. Second module is the CNN. Third module is STM. So his company proposed it, but he should not write that. Okay, there is a, because I can also do the same. What is called I can do both location, means localizations and detections of object with the same CNN in a different way also. But just we want to show what is the name wise. Or region CNN means it going to do this one, but the word CNN means image classification as per his past studies in the literature. Now this is the examples taken from this published paper, published from the UC Berkeley, 2000, same author. That region based consists of three modules. Just now I mentioned that region proposal generation, feature extraction by using deep CNN, and classification by using SPM. So these are three modules he proposed here. So there is an input image. Then for a given input image, he proposed some approach to extract the important proposals. In the sense, in the exhaustive search and sliding search, we can get n number of patches based on the block size bounding we can get. But he will not process all the patches or sub segments or regions by using CNN features, means at the CNN stage to do the classification or to do the localization detection. He will combine, and then he will say this is the final one. That name is called proposal. So this is a final region, he say proposal. So that means he combine 2-3 patches and to get to one proposal, so that the number of patches that need to be processed at the CNN stage, because CNN is the deep stage, it consumes more time in a feature extraction. So
I think that slide windowing concept is overcome by this.
Yes.
Drawback of that.
That is the drawback. The sliding approach has, or exhaustive approach has many drawbacks. So it works with the fixed size, that's the advantage. Fixed aspect ratio.
But it not cover the
orientation, orientation and the size. That is called scale. Ranges of the scales of the object cannot be captured by the sliding approach. But one can say that I have done in signal processing. I know what type of noises, anomalies I can see. So some spike is there in a power quality, people say. The short duration. Then I will fix this is the wavelet. But if you see wavelet decomposition, it decomposes the entire signal into multiple resolutions. Okay, up to 2 points we will get. okay, in the decomposition. Then all the wavelet coefficients can be directly feed to a CNN. Then they say that it is what is called wavelet CNN, where I am able to capture the scale of the localized waveform. But in this one is not like decomposed wave. It's a simple block. So we don't have options or flexibility to capture scale, or I have to do empirical study. But in this case, since we are getting different patches, that's why he say he's going to use one of the approach is called selective search. Okay, there are many ways to generate the region proposals. One is objectness, and then there are two more methods. Then one is selective search. So you can see that he is going to combine both the exhaustive search and segmentation, where he will try to merge it and then able to capture the objects with the different scales and different orientations. And then he can reduce the number of patches that need to be produced, means that need to be processed in the CNN architecture, because CNN is the second stage as per this proposal. Feature extractor uses the deep CNN architectures to extract the feature from the patches. So that number of proposal is nothing but lesser than the number of patches that will be given to the traditional, what is called exhaustive search based CNN approach. So in this model, I give summary, then we will go in detail. Region proposal is nothing but a set of candidate detections available at this stage of the module 1. When an input image is given, it generates a category independent region proposals, approximately 2000 proposals in different sizes and aspect ratios, and it produces multiple bounding boxes in input image as shown in this figure. This type of we can see you can see the different sizes of the bounding boxes and different size here small size scale. So here also you can see it. Now each of all these proposals will be given to the CNN, that is called feature extractor, which is nothing but a deep CNN or a large CNN feature extractor that extracts a fixed length feature vector from each region proposals. And here we can see that the last layer is 4096 features. That means the number of which is nothing but the feature extractor outputs the total number of proposals into a 4096 features. So that is the size of the second stage before giving to the classifier. So here classifier is a set of class specific SVMs, but here he used linear kernels. There are many more kernels. He used linear kernel. So here only I can do some job. He studied with the linear, I may study with any other, that RB or Gaussian or some more kernels. Once the CNN features extracted like 4096 for each proposal, then we will have that number of features multiplied with the number of proposals. Then that objects are classified for each region with linear SVM models trained for a classification. So that means what? The region proposal outcomes, it means basically it produces the bounding boxes. That means localization. The SVM is used to classify that each of the bounding boxes, that means each of the bounding box which includes a object. We are assuming that that bounding box includes a complete object or a partial object. That's again problem of this type of techniques. There are some more techniques they propose exactly how we are doing elimination. That's something they call it is a post processing. Okay, that will come to the next level. Okay. So these are the three modules for this region CNN architecture. So now little bit, what is feature extractor? They extracted 4096 features. For the extraction of the features, this is the other means what you see Professor Hissik, he followed some other architecture, that's called CAFE architecture. So implementation of the CNN described by this professor, and then he means features are computed by forward propagating mean subtracted 227 class 227 RGB image through the 5 conventional layers and 2 fully connected layers. That means what? The feature extractive stage includes 5 conventional layers and 2 fully connected layers with this size image. But I may get my patches in a different images. So that means I need to perform some kind of demolition. Okay, I need to perform some kind of warping, all these things. So that is also additional processing that we need to follow before giving to this type of architectures. Means these are fixed architecture which includes 5 conventional layers and 2 fully connected layers. Now, in order to compute the features for each region proposal, the image data in a region is first converted into a form that is compatible with this. Just now I discussed that, because if you see it's a 227 cross 227 RGB image, okay, that is mean subtractor 1. That means what? We need to do some kind of warping, that's called warped region. After performing this warping process only we are giving to the CNN architectures, because I am going to use the existing one. So I can just present it because he proposed it, there is no modification. We can also modify it. Okay. So there are many possible transformations of arbitrary shaped regions. Okay, we studied, actually computer vision, we studied some affine transformation also. So sometimes your object, particularly bounding box, one bounding box is oriented in different way. So we have to correct it. Similarly, with your bounding box with a different size, that also converted into a same size of that is the CNN architecture which is adapted here. Otherwise, it will be what the input size of the CNN architecture will be different. But traditional image classification also we are giving the same input size. That's the pre-processing. Okay. So regardless of the size or aspect ratio of the candidate region or a proposal region, all pixels are wrapped in a tight bounding box around it to the required size. That's the required size is 227 cross 227. Then before giving to this, so this is the pre-processing that we need to do before giving to the second module. So these are explained in this paper, and you can, the source code also available. You can just use it for your applications. So then the third module is a classification module where we use SVM. So in this paper they say it's a testing time detection stage. So what are the challenges in the testing time, and then we have one more runtime analysis. Okay. So the testing time detection, a selective search is run on the test image to extract around 2000 region proposals, okay, which is he used to pass mode, because this selective approach is proposed by some other author, not proposed by the author of this author. So that was proposed by it's a different paper. So basically he combined many approaches to develop a region CNN architectures. CNN architecture also adapted from the different research group, and he used a different selective search approach, means a different region generation approach, which is known as a selective search approach. So that is also proposed by different research group. Each proposal is wrapped into and then given to the CNN architecture for computing the features. Then for each class, the score is computed for each extracted feature vector using the SVM trained for that class. Then for all scored regions in a image, a greedy non-maximum suppression, that's very important technique. And NMS for each class independently is applied for rejecting a region if it has an intersection over union. That's one of the measures he proposed in this paper. Overlap with the higher scoring selected region larger than the Lennon threshold. In this way, he is able to remove the unwanted bounding box from the last stage. So not only just a classification, he also proposed a greedy non-maximum suppressions with the what is called metrics of intersection over union. So mathematical expression for this this model is published in this paper. You can go through it. So in the case of runtime analysis, there are two important properties make a detection is more efficient. One is all CNN parameters are shared across all categories. sharing reduces the time spent computing region proposals and features. Then the feature vectors computed by the CNN are low dimensional when compared to other common approaches such as spatial pyramids with back of visual word encoding techniques. So here just we want to show that how much detections we can do if we compare with the number of patches in an exhaustive approach based object detection. So in your only class specific commutations, the dot product between the features and SPM weights and with the non-maximum suppression, in practice all dot products for all images are patched into a single matrix, which is nothing but matrix product. The feature matrix is typically 2000 cross 4096 and the SPM weight matrix is 4096 cross n. So then at the finally we can have the what is called the dimension size of 134 GB, that's a gigabyte memory just to store 100 K linear predictors compared to 1.2 GB for wire. So this is the actual size required for if we generate a 2000 and 4096. So now his contribution is only on this building non-maximum suppression. Otherwise, he adopted the selective approach, existing selective approach, and also existing CNN architecture. But he showed the improvement in the accuracy for the same data set. So then there is one more stage, it's called bounding box regressions. What do you mean by that? That based on the error analysis, so he implemented a simple method to reduce the localization errors, that is based on the bounding box regression. This is also proposed by different research group, and he adapted here with the linear regression model to predict a new detection window given the pool features, or we can say feature of pool for a selective search region proposals. So these are just again he adapted a class specific bounding box regression. It's algorithm. It's with a simple so with a simple mathematical expression to remove the other bounding boxes which are not related to the objects. Now, in some of the approach they used anchor boxes. So based on that, there are two types of object detection methods. One is called anchor based detectors, another one is called anchor free based detectors. So anchor boxes are like this. Then for example, anchor box 1, anchor box 2, then anchor box 1 tiled across images, then anchor box 2 tiled across images. You can see the orientations are different, size particularly width and height. So now again here used intersection over union, particularly unit between the anchors and object which directly follow horizontal detectors, and due to many directional objects with a large aspect ratio, the object anchor intersection over unit is heavily influenced by the angle, which may cause a few angles assigned for some ground truth objects. So now based on this they proposed two methods. One is called anchor based detectors, which adapt preset rectangles of a different shapes in each feature point and assign these positive angles to corresponding ground truth box by some certain rules. But some of the applications, so they proposed angle free detectors, so where they define a samples by points, grids and other rules. So here the angles, so here the box shapes are fixed, but here the box, particularly the box shapes will be different based on the object. It can be adaptive. So it is based on the points, grids and other rules. He proposed set of grids and rules. So that is called angle free detectors. So that save time in a label assignment process, but for objects densely arranged in aerial images, so angle based detector with a dense angle may perform well as compared to angle free detectors. So these two are also proposed by different research groups. I just shown in this slide that yes, there are two approaches for object detections. One is called angle based detectors, and based on this type of angles we can design the labeling, and another one is angle-free detectors, which uses the set of points and grids and the set of rules. So now, before going to the region proposal algorithms, I want to summarize what are the steps involved in the region proposal algorithm. So take an image as an input and output the bounding boxes corresponding to all patches in an image. Bounding boxes are most likely to be objects. Region proposals can be noisy and overlapping. Region proposals may not contain the object perfectly. Amongst these region proposals, a proposal can be very close to the actual object in an image. These proposals are classified by using the object recognition model. Region proposals with the higher probability scores are the locations of the object. So this is the concept. Now we will see what are the different region proposal algorithms. I just summarized because we must know actually what is the description of region proposal. That means basically it takes the input as image and produces the bounding boxes. All the bounding, we are expecting that all bounding boxes are corresponding to all patches in images, because we seen in the previous exhaustive search we say patches with a fixed length. Now the bounding boxes more likely to be an object. That means sometimes you can see here this one of the bounding box can completely filled with what is called object. Now how do you ensure that one? Therefore we can see some of the metrics is called objectness. So that's also one of the approach they used with this region proposal algorithm. And selective search is a different approach to ensure that the bounding box exactly includes the object. So sometimes you can see the region proposals can be noisy. Noisy in the sense I have set up object with the background of greens or some grasses or some skies or water molecules. So we say those region proposals is a noisy proposals. Or sometimes the region proposals may be overlapping, because we have seen in signal processing part of the what is called images or object will be the first previous bounding box, then the next portion of the object will be the object will be in the next bounding box. So that's called split of the object in a different bounding box. That's called overlapping. Now how do you merge it? They propose some techniques. Region proposals may not contain the object perfectly. That's why they want to present here that all their proposal can be very close to the actual object in an image. That is also possible. Then that will be classified by using traditional object recognition models, and then we are expecting that region proposal with a higher probability score will be the locations of the particular object in the image. Yeah, so just we discussed. These are just for understanding. I have taken for yes. So now there are different approaches that we have seen. That is maybe based methods, then sliding into based methods, selective search, and region proposal network. Now there is something called general object detection framework. What is that? Just we must know what is that general object framework. So there are 3 steps in an object detection framework, which is nothing but a general object detection framework. The first step is a model or algorithms used to generate a region of interest or region of proposal. You can see in many of the what is called traditional what is called diabetic retinopathy, sometimes anything we always say that region of interest. So sometimes student will or anyone some manually will take a region of interest, then we'll try to detect it, or we'll propose some kind of automation techniques to get a set of region of interest. Then for each of the region of interest we try to do some kind of classification and tracking. So therefore they say it generates a region of interest. So instead of saying region of interest, he is saying region proposals. Okay, that's not much a difference. So this, because here region of interest is automated, but still the traditional machine learning techniques also, many of the research group automated region of interest instead of feeding a region of interest manually. Okay, like for example diabetic retinopathy blood vessel detections or optic detections. So you can give a region of interest, you can get a complete diameter of the optic disc or any kind of license. You can, if you give one region of interest, you try to get the rest of the region of interest. But that can be automated. So therefore, it is equivalent to region of interest. The region proposal is equivalent to region of interest, which we have seen in the traditional machine learning based classification approach. Okay. In the second step, visual features are extracted, which is nothing but a deep CNN features, what we discussed in the previous slides, from the previous slides. They are evaluated and is determined whether and which objects are present in the proposal based on the visual features. Basically for object classification component. It is combined with what? A SVM. The third step is called a post-processing step, which is adopted in most of the object detection, which is based on the non-maximum suppression, which is called NMS. So there also they have two types of approaches. One is called bounding boxes and the confidence scores. So NMS removes overlapping bounding boxes using the score calculated by SVM models. It eliminates the predictions with the lower scores and leaves the most confident predictions. So similarly in the confidence scores, effectively leave one predictions per object depending on the accuracy of bounding box predictions and confidence score. So these are the two criterion or criteria are used in this non-maximum suppression. That means any object detection framework we are going to do only these three. But how do you extract the region proposals? There are some approach. Then what type of CNN architecture that will be proposed in terms of number of convolution layers and fully connected layers, that's also can be empirically we can choose, or we can adapt the existing trained network also. With this stage we can use a trained network after getting what is called region proposals. Then we have post processing to eliminate what is called non-relevant bounding boxes or to get a single bounding box for each of the objects. So this is just I just started with the one stage and two stage. So in the two stage we have RCNN, fast RCNN, faster RCNN. After fast RCNN there are many optimization algorithms including better feature networks, better RPN, that's called region proposal network, more complete region of interest classification, sample post processing, and then larger mini patch, etc. There are many more modifications or variants that we can see based on this approach only. So here RPN, region proposal network model, generates many proposals to distinguish background and foreground by the score. So this, for example, this case is 0.7. Then the CNN models randomly select the positive negative proposals in a ratio of 3 to 1 for training. Then similarly we have inference process, then we can get a different bounding boxes. So there are many one stage algorithms. YOLO is one of the classical model, and then SST also recently proposed, which performs better than the YOLO model, and we'll see what is the architecture for SST based detections. So this is the simple block diagram which was published in this survey of deep learning based object detection paper, that whatever we discussed we can see here. So we have discussed that there are many approaches for region proposal generations, or you can say approaches for generation of the region proposals, which is most important because the actual limitations of the ranges of the scales, particularly size of the object, and also the orientation which need to be captured to have better localization and the classification. So now there are many methods which are reported by the different research group. Some of the things are summarized here. One is called objectness, which was proposed by Alexia et al. Measuring the objectness of an image, which is published in journals. Then selective search, that we discussed just now, but we will see in detail what is the algorithms that is followed in the selective search for generating the region proposals. Then category independent object proposal, which is proposed by Endress, which is in the paper of the title of category independent object proposals. And then constraint parametric mean cuts, it's another approach to generate region proposals. And then multi-scale combinatorial grouping techniques for generating this region of interest and then randomized tree. So now while RCNN is agnostic to the particular region proposal method, selective search is commonly used to what is called enable a control comparisons with the prior detection network. That means we can see different approaches for generating the region proposals, but out of this objectness and selective search is adopted, and particularly this selective approach is adopted in this RCNN proposed by the professor from University of Delhi. So now what is objectness? Okay, objectness is the measure of the probability that an object exists in a proposed region of interest, or you can say region of proposals. So this is also very interesting research work that you can also propose only propose a techniques or some kind of metrics to score the objectness, or you can say to what is called develop objectness score or measure. That means the probability that an object exists in a proposed region of interest. So here we can see there are many bounding boxes. Now, so we can see here one bounding box with the green color, one more bounding box with the dark blue, then here also one bounding box with the green color for this person, and some bounding box with the red. Here also you can see multiple bounding boxes. For a same cow we can see the different bounding boxes. Now, as per this definition, it is a measure of the probability that an object here is cow, exists in a proposed region of interest. So now if I take this or if I consider the dark blue bounding box and another is green bounding box, then we can say this green bounding box is a high objectness, okay, because it has a compact bounding box. It means it includes only the object. The same thing only in a signal processing also. When I have one spike in some kind of low frequency signal, we use wavelet, but we are choosing one wavelet, but we are assuming that the wavelet can capture the short spiky events in the signal, but we do not know which level it will be captured. We do not know which level that spikes will be captured. So similarly here, we have to use some kind of metrics to test that yes, for this level, for the decomposition of 7th level or a 1st level, I can see this spike. But that is also challenge. So people propose different approaches. That means randomly they extract the features, and if they are able to get a best accuracy for a specific type of what is called events, then they can say that yes, this level 5 is sufficient, is the best level. So similarly, we have for a same object, we may have a different bounding boxes. Now we have to identify which bounding box will score highest objectness score. So that's why they say probability. So the high objectness indicates that image window likely contains an object exact. If an image has high objectness, then the following can be expected from this definition of high objectness: uniqueness in the whole image, tight boundaries, that's I explained exactly the sense, tight boundaries around the object, different appearance to its surroundings. So you can see the different appearance in the surrounding and the tight boundaries for this object. You can see this one also, you have different appearance in the boundary and the tight bounding box for this. Similarly for this car, this one, not in this dark blue color. So similarly for this car also, we can see that this green, not visible but this green. So that means for a single object we can have multiple bounding box. We have to choose the perfect bounding box so that I can reduce the number of bounding box that will be processed at the deep CNN architecture. Those bounding box, the best sounding box, we can say proposals. Okay. So now bounding objective score is defined as another way. It's defined to measure how well the detector identifies the locations and classes of the object. one way to prove that I propose set of metrics to score the objectness, or you can say to measure the objectness. Now, how do you say that is the best one? Another way is to what is called check the complexity and the detection accuracy. That's another way we do. So most of the time in a MATLAB we have more than 40, 50 wavelets. Okay, different type of wavelets. But which wavelet is suitable for ECG? Which wavelet is suitable for PPG or any kind of a signal? How do you do it? How do you identify the best wavelet? So what we will do, we will take accuracy and computation time is the benchmark. I will select all the wavelets, I will collect all the signals, I will get, for example, compression purpose. Compression of ECG, which wavelet is the best wavelet. Then I will get what is the compression ratio and its distortion value, and low distortion, the higher compression, that wavelet is the best wavelet. It's one way to do it.
So basically, can we say it is nothing but for object detection? Can we use it? Because
This is object localization. Object detection is a part of object localization and classification.
So will it work with 3D images?
Yeah, that is one. We are coming to that. That's it. Yeah, that's one of the slides. So here we do not. How do you choose it? That we are focusing to contribute. Means not that I know I have objectness score already. We have the program for that. We can use it. We'll get. But I want to modify. I want to propose new objectness score metrics, new metrics. To choose to reduce the number of proposal in such that I will not compromise the accuracy, but it should satisfy these important characteristics. That's a properties we can say. So one of the example is number of wavelets we have. Which wavelet will give best compression, higher compression ratio with the less error? That is the best wavelet. Another way to do it, you know, for example, I am talking about one example, ECG. It has a P wave, it has a QRS complex, it has a T wave. Each of the wave will have a different spectrum. QRS complex will have what is called high frequency components. P wave, T wave will have low frequency. If I take a mother wavelet, if I scale it, I will get a different spectrum. Already I have taken a spectrum of ECG, having a P wave will have different spectrum in the ECG spectrum, or different portion in the ECG spectrum, and QRS complex will have different portions in the ECG spectrum. T wave can have a different spectrum in the ECG spectrum. Now I can see which wavelet having a similar spectrum in a different scale, matching with the spectrum of P wave, T wave, QRS, then I can tell that is the best. That's one way to do it, but nobody will do. Yes, it needs some subject knowledge. Otherwise, easiest way is write the algorithm, optimization algorithm, see which wavelet gives the highest compression ratio with the lower distortion error for a set of 40 signals, then I can say this is the best way. So one way. So similarly, we can also contribute for proposing, or we can say we can propose a new objectness measure or new metrics. Okay. So how do you propose that? We can see. Particularly for navigation process, the location of object in a 3D world coordinates are transformed into 2D image coordinates through affine projection, and then decide whether to retain the classes of a detected object using the objectness score. The concept of objectness score based on the assumption that we can detect the objects with a high accuracy at appropriate distance, not too far away or not too close to the object. So that's again, this is constant here. So if you read the paper published by this research group, that's called Measuring the Objectness of Image Windows, there are many approaches, metrics are proposed how to validate. It's a very good paper. So I have taken from this paper to understand what is the objectness, which is most important to select the region of interest or a region proposals, so that we can reduce the computational complexity at the second stage of the RCD. So this, this is the zoomed version. So you can see, so you have two bounding box, then green will have a highest one. So that's why this inlet state score highest windows fitting on object type green. You can see all type green. So that means, that's why in one of the slides I have written bounding boxes are labeled with a color, not a color images. Sorry, colors of the object. It's a color labeling color. So here he showed that the all green color indicates the tightness of this. So that is also one way to classify easily, because I am not interfering. No, there is no visual inspection of this. So I should have some kind of a labeling. What type of labeling I am going to adopt? So he used color coding. So green indicates that it will have a tightness, high tightness, or you can say high objectness score. The score lower windows covering partially an object and partially the background, which is nothing but blue, and the score lowest windows containing only some kind of object. You can see this red. So we are not interested in this graph. If somebody say that graph also my object, then we cannot. So depending on the application, that's why it's all class specific. Otherwise one can argue the background that this also my object. So anybody can do. So we have to see. We have to restrict we have to define what are the number of objects. That's the initiation we have to do in all this algorithm. We have to decide what type of object we are going to do. Then only we can design the number of colors.
So maybe it can be used for the application like image comparisons if we want to. So there we can specify initially that what objects we need to compare, and then bounding we can.
Yes.
So for that, those applications we can use this easily, and accuracy will be more, I guess.
That's for image comparison.
Yes.
Yeah. But here we are.
Actually, I'm working with one project which is on 3D images. But there I'm facing lots of issues because
Actually, I did not go in detail, but when I read this paper, he is explained. This is a very interesting paper. I will share it. I think I did not put it. I think it is there in my laptop. So, because this statement I have taken from him, because I want to know most important part of this. So he is the 3D applications. Then from that only I drawn this conclusion that we can detect objects with high accuracy at an appropriate distance, not too far away, not too close. So that's things here. But this is the importance of the color coding in terms of objectness code. Yeah. Just yes. Yes, yes. Yeah, please. You can start. Yeah.
This is a mandate of a.
Okay. Nothing, no problem.
So actually, sir, we had identified the articles to share. This is
They don't have to discuss on this. They have computers.
this is about the group. So these are the
How much time you will plan? 10 minutes. Already it is mailed to the participants.
Okay.
It's their duty to among them. One of them will come and discuss on it.
It is same.
Same
Group 3.
Take some 10 minutes. You can sit there.
तुमचं
Search algorithm which is used in this region CNN. So from this figure we can understand the importance of selective search. So we have different kinds of objects. Here also we can see different kinds of objects. And this example shows that different objects but with similar colors. The leaves and what's called commanding. So we have cars and also we can see small objects. So from this they summarize that there is a high variety of regions that image regions forms an object. One is by color that we discussed one. So we can discriminate the cat, not in the structure. We can also do it, but if you see this type of categories, that same group but the different colors. So then next one is you can see that same color but different objects. Use the leaves and then under some kind of textures. Here also you can see the card and then it has a different part because the enclosed, not because of their similar texture in colors. So therefore we need to find the object in a structured way. It is necessary to use variety of diverse strategies. In the selective search algorithms, we proposed different diverse, they say diversification, okay, or diverse strategies. So here, if the selective search algorithm combines the strength of both exhaustive search and segmentation. Like segmentation, image structure is used to guide the sampling process, and then exhaustive search, the approach aims to capture all possible object locations. This algorithm takes an image as input, same, whatever we see in the previous slide. It takes the input as an image, then it produces different region proposals. So previous examples like exhaustive search, we got a different patterns and bounding boxes. But in this selective search, it combines both the segmentation and exhaustive search to produce only the specific region proposals which are highly correlated with the objects in the image. So instead of single technique to generate a possible object location, the search is diversified and also a variety of complementary image partitioning is used to deal with the many image conditions as possible. So you can see that the selective search results in a small set of data given because we are going to have only few region proposals as compared to bounding box. It will be a class independent and high quality locations. And also we will have a reduced number of locations because we are going to have only few region proposals as compared to the bounding boxes. So now what are the techniques that used in this selective search? It is nothing but a greedy algorithm. So it combines a smaller segmented regions to generate a region proposals. So that means that's why we say it first performs a sub-segmentation, then it try to combine all the segmented regions or patches to generate a new regions. So therefore we are able to reduce the number of proposals then without compromising the accuracies and the computational time. So this was proposed by Ujings, that is selective search for object recognitions. And this same algorithms adopted by the previous region scaling approach. Now here, yes. So here it rigorously combined the smaller similar regions into a larger ones. So by using a greedy algorithm, it has a few steps. From a set of regions, choose two that are most similar, combine them into a single and larger region, repeat the above steps for multiple iterations, then use the segmental region proposal to generate a candidate object locations. So as you see, the selective search algorithm has a set of design considerations. One is we need to capture all states, which was discussed in the first few slides, that in a selective search and sliding window, the drawback is that we are not able to cover all ranges of states. Then we have to ensure here. So object can occur at any scale with an image. Some objects have less clear boundaries than other objects. So in a selective search, all object scales have to be taken into account, and that is illustrated. You can see that there are different objects. You can see the different sizes. So here also you can see there are same person sitting and same facial information you can see on the photo. So that's the meaning of this. You can have a set all object scales, not only this big size of a person, and also the small size of the same persons within the photo frame. So it includes all scales of objects. Then diversification is most important. Strategies, there are 4 strategies we can see now. There is no single optimal strategies to group regions together, as observed in the figure, same this figure. And regions make parts are enclosed. Lighting conditions such as shading and the color of the light may influence how regions form an object. Therefore, instead of having a single strategy which works with the most cases, so we want to have a diverse set of strategies to deal with all cases. So in this paper, we proposed different diversification strategies. So we will see. Then the third design consideration, it should be fast enough to compute. That means same thing. If you say what are the different properties of feature extraction, you can see that feature discriminations, feature robustness, and features should be simple. So these are the 3 important properties of any feature extraction techniques. So similarly, if for developing this selective search, they consider set of characteristics, that means it should capture all scales and it should have some different types of diversification. You see why you want to have the different strategies. Then all these methods should be a symbol, so that we can get the possible locations to meet the proposals in a less time. Now there are the selective search by hierarchical grouping, which is one of the algorithms used to form the basis of our selective search. It's particularly this selective search. It's called bottom-up grouping. It's a popular approach to segmentation, and it is adapted for selective search. So now this is the algorithm given in this paper. It's very simple, but it is described here. First, we have to create initial regions, then apply greedy algorithm to iteratively group regions together, and within that we have first the similarities between all neighboring regions are calculated. Then 2 most similar regions are grouped together, and these similarities are calculated between the resulting region and neighborhood. This process will be continued. It's in an iterative manner, so that we can have what is called independent region proposals. That's some of the approach we say independent region proposals. The process of grouping is the most similar region is repeated until such region. So this is described here. R indicates the regions, different regions. So we are trying to combine these 2 regions by considering some similarities. So what are the similarities that are adapted? So now in the second design criterion for selective search is to diversify the sampling and create a set of complementary strategies. So you can see that by using variety of color space, we can have different diversifications. Similarly, by using different similarity measures, or by varying our starting regions. So now in the case of a color space, so what are the possible components that we can consider when we want to have a diversification strategy only for a color space? So it can be a RGB, then the intensity, lab, it's all our color space models. RG channels of your normalized RGB plus intensity denoted as RGL, and then HSV, normalized RGB. So some of the color space models we also explored for image classification. So here he proposed that we can use either one, or we can incorporate all also, or any two also. So that means you are giving more, you are bringing more diversifications in the object classification. But these are the list of color space that was proposed by Links. So now, if we come to the complementary similarity measures, so here he proposed 4 complementary similarity measures. One is the color similarity, and then we have some more similarity. You can see like structural similarity, then size similarity, and we have field similarities. So there are 4 similarities. So this is the major part of this RCNN. Otherwise, the CNN architecture which is used for extracting features from a region proposal is same, which is already published, but most of the contribution is from this selective search, particularly diversification strategies. So now in the colors similarity, this is the mathematical expressions to check the closeness between 2 regions. So now this small description that for each region, we generate the histogram of each channels of the colors present in the image. We have taken 25 bins from a histogram for each color channel, and that gives us 75 bins because RGB, and then it calculated the similarity between this is the color plane bins, and this is the region. Okay, R is the region, and C is the color bins from the histogram. So they have the expressions to get a CT, but to select the best what is called bounding box and a region of proposals, they combined this all color similarity, texture similarity, field similarity, and size similarity as one single formula or single metric. But to get that score, first we have to compute the color similarity. This is the expression. So for a given image, if it is a RGB image, so we will have 3 color plane. For each of the bins, for each of the plane, we have 25 bins. Then they got 75 bins. Then they calculated the test color for each of the regions also. So this structure similarity is computed using generated 8 Gaussian derivatives of the images. Well, this you have seen in the first example I told that we have image. If the image is convolved with the Gaussian kernel, we will get a low frequency part of the image. If I same image convolved with the derivative Gaussian, you will get edge information. So therefore, the structure similarity measure is performed on the what is called output of the Gaussian derivative kernel. They used 8 Gaussian derivatives. But that means what? For each in the previous one, we have 3 planes and 25 bins for each color plane, so 75 bins. And also, we will have 75 bins for each region. Then for each regions, with the 75 bins, we will have the score. Then finally, they got CT, and that CT will be combined with all other similarity measures to get the one diversification score. So here, we have 10 Gaussian derivatives, and the extracted histogram 10 bins for each color channels. So totally 10 cross 8, so 240 dimensional vectors we will get for each region. Then again they used this expression that is k is equal to 1 to n, minimum of this p, k and this one. So we know the texture is denoted as a t. The previous case we have R is denoted as a region. The previous case is C, but here T we are using texture similarity. So this texture information captured by the Gaussian derivative kernel. They applied 8 variation using the sigma equal to 1, which we studied in the image processing techniques. Then the third similarity measure is size similarity measure. the basic idea of size similarity is to make a smaller region similar easily. If this similarity is not taken into consideration, then large regions keep merging with the larger regions, and regions proportions at a multiple scales will be generated at this. So here also for each region, so we can calculate what is the size similarity. Then we calculated the next one is field similarities. The field similarity measures tells how well two regions fit with each other. This is a statement, but how do you capture this information from this expression? Actually, he conducted a study with many images, provide a database, then he suggested this 4 similarity measures. So similarly, in image quality assessment, we have structural similarity measures. There are many ways to check the quality of the image, or particularly reconstructed like PSMR, mean square error, but there are many drawbacks. Then, but the structural similarity measure SSM become most popular because it includes the contrast and brightness and also the structures. So similarly, he is trying to propose a matrix which can include all possible what's called variations. The field similarity, that is the size, then size similarity, then the structure similarity and color similarity. Then he finally proposed one similarity score for diversifications, and this is nothing but A1. So again A1, A2, A3 are calibrated based on his studies, empirically calculated. So now based on this final score, we decided the best region proposals. Yeah. So that is the second design consideration. The third one is a complementary starting regions. So the third is that the efficient graph-based image segmentation is used, which was proposed by this research group, which is the fastest and publicly available algorithm that provides a high-quality starting locations. It's a graph-based image segmentation. So since the code is available, he is saying that we are using it, but anyone can we can also explore different types of graph, because there are a number of graph signal processing, image processing techniques. So since the code is available, so he started using this graph-based image segmentations for complementary starting regions. This approach is used for over-segmentation in the past studies. So, but note that the different starting regions are already obtained by varying the color space, each which has a different invariance properties. Then he just change the k values to get a different regions. Then he proposed. So the technique is same, only he changed the threshold parameters of these techniques. So we combined all these 3 design considerations to get the best research proposals. So the disadvantage of this RCNN, generation of bad regions proposals. There is the selective search algorithm is very rigid, and since it is a fixed algorithm, no learning happens during the search because everything is fixed. So the selective search algorithm is a fixed algorithm. Because of that one, we can say that we can see some bad region proposals, no learning process at the stage of search algorithm. This is just summarize how we say that it generates a bad region proposal. These are the 2 reasons for seeing the bad region proposals. Then very time consuming, since the number of region proposals is approximately 2000 or more. If we generate too many proposals, we have seen the previous slides, more than 100 GB is required to store this model. It's a very slow implementation model because it involves multiple steps to train separately in each of this RCNN architectures, and then real-time application feasibility, because he quoted that, means he reported that it takes around 47 seconds for each test images, but he is saying that means not he is saying some means research group says that it is useful only for offline, but 40 seconds depends upon the application again. That some application if you can have means processing time of 1 minute, still it's a real time. So that is depends upon the application. So it requires more memory requirement, memory space because of that 2000 into 4096 features. So there are any doubts on this selective search? So there are many region proposal approaches. So out of that, the objectness and selective search are excellently used. There are many more algorithms you will go through it. But in the case of objectness, there is one matrix, and similarly for selective search, there are 4 similarity measures. So particularly to have a diversification strategies, and then finally combine all the similarity measures to have one score. Then all A1, A2, A3, A4s are empirically determined in this paper for specific type of data. Yeah. So the next one is single sort detection method. So we have seen the examples for 2-sort detection models, which has a region proposal method and also classifications of those regions. Define of location. That means in single sort detection, skip the regional proposal state and only gives the final localization and content predictions at once. That means both localization and content prediction is simultaneously done without any without use of regional proposal method. So there are different object detections. Okay, that is one is that bounding boxes that we see, that resamples pixels or the features of each box and apply high quality classifier. But when you want to have accurate regional proposal generations, I mean there are many approaches we have seen. That is one is selective search and objectness. But we have to see that what is the computational time, because all these region proposal networks will be implemented on embedded systems. So we need to see how much computational hardware or high-end hardware is required, and what will be the latency if you implement in the real time. So it was reported that 47 seconds for images, but sometimes it is useful for some of the applications 40 seconds will be offline. So compared to the 2-stage object detections, the single sort detectors useful for multiple categories, that is much faster than the 2-stage object detection models. So particularly ORO and SSP was used in the single sort detectors. So now what is the single sort detectors, which is most popular and efficient real-time object detection method, and that uses a single deep CNN for predicting the bounding box and produces a set of bounding boxes to produce class labels or predictions for all objects. It combines both a single deep CNN architecture. That means it gives the regional proposal network. So again it's repeated. The name is single sort because it is straightforward without any regional proposal network. Therefore, we named it a single sort detection. Sometimes you can see a single sort multi-box detection. There are some more variants of SSP, single sort multi-box detection. Yeah. So then elimination of the RPN makes the single sort detection process much faster than 2-stage. But since we are removing a region proposal network, we have to see how much accuracy we are going to see. But in the first few slides, we are seeing that 2-stage sort detection methods will give better localizations and discrimination accuracies. But inference performance is good in a single sort detection process. But accuracy is compared to 2-stage, the accuracy is low for the single sort detection process. But they claim that much faster than this. Obviously, if you remove one, and you can get a reduction in the computational time. So the single CNN architecture makes SSD based much faster. This is also reported in paper, just I'm repeating. But only thing is they claim that it is useful for multiple objects in image with a high accuracy. And it was observed that SSD based methods have problems with small and with close images. Both potential issues of particularly this. Actually, this paper was published for whiteflies detections and tracking. So that's why I have taken from this. So with that applications, there is a limitations in detecting the small and close images. Because if you see white flies, they are very close to that. So they consider 1 mm accuracies. It's not,
Same authors are published.
no, it's a different research group. Because same, actually techniques is same, but they applied for a different applications. Some people applied for drone detection, some people applied for agriculture, some people applied for this wildfires, some people applied for debris detections. Yeah. Same algorithm is applied in a different domain. That SST is much faster than two-stage, obviously, because we do not use regional processor network. So this is the actual architecture of Simulus SST. It uses the unified two-port network, two-part network, and the base network leveraging the predefined VGG. So here also they use different kinds of trained network. But this paper is taken the VGG 16 network. So you can use any one of the trained networks which you have seen in the previous slides. So that can be a different singles of detector. So truncated before the last classification layer to extract the high level features and then converting the FC6 and FC7 to a convolution layer. So this is the architecture proposed by this group with these 4 steps. So instead of VGG trained networks, we can use some other networks also, but it's all depending on your applications. So if you know 6 trained networks, so you can try with the different kinds of trained networks at this stage to get this high level feature. So this is the third approach for object detection. So that is called, everyone is most popular, everyone use it. There are different numbers for this one also. You can see V3 and V2 started with the YOLO, and V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. So then you can see it may grow. So they can train with the different number of images also. So different number of layers they can propose. But basically it follows some steps. Dense sampling based real-time object detection, which can be okay whenever we want to do real-time object detection. So this YOLO is most popular, everyone is using it. And there are some advantages, but there are many disadvantages. You can see this was reported in this countries like computer visions and pattern definitions in 2016. So you only look once, that's a name he is given, but it has a different number of what is called layers. So here only convolution layers, no fully connected layers. Then in the case of single stage detector based on overfeed and speed with a good performance, but basically YOLO divides the image into grid and predicts the bounding boxes and provide the class probabilities for each of the grids. So that is performed. But in all previous approaches, we do some kind of segmentations, then we apply a exhaustive search, then we get a bounding box. But here it starts with the grid, then it will try to predict the bounding boxes based on the grid. So this grid approach also used in a traditional image classification. Okay. So here it just taken architectures only with the convolution layers without any fully connected
Why it
layers.
is called as you only look once? Why it is called as you only look once?
That's the name.
Because it uses that single pass. It just one pass it is identified, no? So it is
There is no back profile.
No, here there is.
Not fully connected.
That's why no fully connected layers. So actually that's why the one proposed, then you see many variants can within 7 years, 8 years, then again many proposed. That's not it. We can also create your own architecture. Whatever I am presenting, because I don't know any conception, that's why I cannot explain it properly. If we propose, then we can have one architectures. So these are, we can have different architectures. Yeah, we can. For example, somebody wants to work in agriculture, so they can have one networks and they can give a pre-trained network only for agriculture applications, only for medical applications. But where you will define like this, only contains a convolution layers, or it includes 7 convolution layers, or 2 fully connected layers, and sometimes 10 convolution layers, 1 active convolution, or 3 convolution layers, more number of filters, that are variants of many pre-trained networks. Only thing is, all this, you see, all pre-trained networks are proposed by industry people because they have a huge data. So therefore they are able to train it because they have very good GPU. Because when we collected our data for a sound analysis, it become 100 GB. So my cousins asked them to store it. So but they are able to create it because they have huge data and they have high speed. And they want to promote their trained network because if you develop any application based on that, they will get a recognition that yes, this network is evaluated for different applications, still performing well. So somebody will buy it. Okay, so, but our restriction is we have huge. Sometimes we can create a large amount of data, but we do not have a computational facilities. We have to run through some GPUs. Then once you train, if you have that type of models, then you can do symbol transfer learning approach. So then they will come up with the best. So now, if you YOLO does not rely on a region proposals and predicts bounding box directly. So while the speed increases progressively from slow to efficient RCNN, fast RCNN, faster RCNN, YOLO is a real-time performance. So this is in terms of speed, it is listed like this. Obviously that because what happened in the fast RCNN and this one. So applying region proposals, then extracting the deep CNN features, you apply first feature maps algorithms, then go for a region proposals. So slightly some of the techniques are interchanged to see the performance. If I do that way, is there any reduction in the number of region proposals or a bounding box? So here the efficiency of this techniques is listed in this way that you can say this is more computationally expensive RCNN. The next one is fast RCNN, faster RCNN, and then therefore so we can say trade-off is for greater speed and lesser accuracy. So that's why sometimes accuracy in YOLO is very less. So the algorithm is like this. It is there actually. All this the good thing is all this RCNN, fast RCNN, and then faster RCNN, YOLO, SST is there in MATLAB also. The MATLAB, they are given a complete steps and process, how to implement it. Everything is there in MATLAB. Only you have to get the database. If you go to MATLAB workspace, if you type YOLO, you will get the complete instruction set, how to implement it, how to train, how many layers you have to take. Everything is there. Only you have to have a database. So that is easy to learn from MATLAB because even Python it gives a library, but in MATLAB you get a complete information about the definition of YOLO also and limitation of the YOLO. Similarly, single sort detection, what is the definitions, what are the architectures. You will get all documentations in the examples. That's the good things in MATLAB. So the first one is it divides the input image into grid that you have seen in the first slide. So you have image, it will be divided into grids. And then if the center of an object falls into a grid cell, that grid cell is responsible for detecting that object. Then each grid cell predicts deep bounding boxes and confidence scores for each of this. So here his contribution is in a confidence score matrix. So like we have seen previous similarity measures for what is called region proposal generations based on selective search. So here he used the confidence score approach. That confidence score reflects how confident that model is that the box contains an object and how accurate it thinks that predicted box is the object. So it's a statement, but he has simple mathematics there in the paper. So he has written the algorithms to get the confidence score for after dividing the entire image into grid. The YOLO predicts multiple bounding boxes, the grid cell, and at training time YOLO assigns one predictor to be responsible for predicting an object based on which predictions has the highest current that we have seen in the IOU previously with the ground truth labels. So that means we should have perfect ground truth. Then we try to use this matrix to get a multiple, or we can say the bounding boxes instead of what do you say region proposals. Here we can directly get your bounding boxes. So then again, the non-maximum suppression is the post-processing step, which is used to improve the accuracy and efficiency. It is also adopted in the previous approaches. If you are in the RCNN and
sir, this YOLO algorithm can solve the hidden image and the tiny image.
Yes.
Where it is applicable? Tiny image or hidden
This is the major application is only the speed. But even if you see the accuracy, that's why I have given this statement.
It captures tiny
Tiny
images.
So
image.
the trade-off is for
Suppose
greater
if you are
speed and
driving
lesser
a car and
accuracy.
There is a spot inside in the road. It captures
So
it.
it's a sometimes we will get a very high speed in terms of performance. That is speed with a good performance. But if I have a small size images and all, it cannot be captured. Again, you have to choose the grid. Here also there is optimum. That what is the grid size we have to follow. Whether we are going to 3x3 grid or 5 pixels, 6 pixels or a 10 pixels grid also. It's not a single pixel. It also contains a set of pixels. So every method has some limitations, but we have to explore for what applications we can use. So therefore, you can find some of the research papers, they use all trained networks, okay, and they will try to give the accuracy, then they will suggest the best trained networks.
Accuracy depends on the grid also, so like you
Yeah.
said.
But nobody's, means, somebody knows about this algorithm, they do. But as a student, what I see, YOLO, I have to apply YOLO net is V1 or V4, it is there. I just call the library, and if I give to Python, it will give complete condition matrix and regression loss, and it will give ROC, everything I will give, but I do not know whether what are the, that's why I made this slide, to know what are the tuning parameters. If I know the tuning parameters, I can do so much work with the same existing means same what is called object detection methods. But you have to give more importance to know what are the tuning parameters or hyperparameters that can be that need to be considered to get the best result. So this is again this architecture's YOLO algorithms which is published in this paper. So we have bounding boxes. Each bounding box gives 4 coordinates x, y, w, h. The x, y coordinates representing the center of the object related to the grid cell, and w, h is we also got from the previous bounding box approaches. Width and height of the object related to the whole images. Then confidence score is one of its contributions. How confident the model is that the bounding box contains the object, and also how accurate the box. This is the statement, but there is a mathematical framework to get all these bounding boxes related to the objects. So these are the limitations of YOLO. That is, YOLO architecture is very simple to implement, especially with a single detection box per grid cell, which makes it good choice when you want to experiment with your own code. But there are many limitations. YOLO predicts a single class per grid cell and will not work well in multiple objects of a different kinds are present in the same cell. So this problem exists in a what is called setback, means selective search based bounding box. But here a fixed grid resolution imposes a strong spatial constraints on what model can do. That we have seen just now. So in a previous one, in a sliding window, you are choosing a box, but you are shifting. But in the search back, selective search, you will have a different kind of boxes, but you are using some 4 or 5 similarity measures and objectness to know whether the bounding box contains the object or not. So in a region proposal network, there are many approaches. The objectness and selective search approach is the best method, but each of these methods, for example selective search, we have seen different diversification strategies, means there are many kinds of similarity measures are used. So in that way we can combine what is called bounding box having a same means parts of the same object. But here the selection of the grid resolution is very important. Then YOLO models will difficulty not to do well on a collection of a small objects like your small birds and without careful tuning of the grid. That is also reported. YOLO tends to localize objects with a relatively low precision. The main reason for that is that it works on the last feature map from the conventional stack, which is typically the one with the lowest spatial resolution and contains a coarse resolution. So these are the limitations of this, but still, as we see that every student or every research group try to use it because of this one, that it makes it good choice when you want to experiment with our own code because easy to understand. So
YOLO 1, 2, 3 versions are there, no?
yeah, mean.
So what highlights there means what drawback is overcome there?
No, actually all these things are in terms of number of kernels filters and image data set they used. So they are always updating with the more number of variety of data, and sometimes they use different kernels, number of layers.
That is backend में whatever CNN architecture they have used, they are changing.
Yes, yes. That's why I am saying we never use pre-trained networks because we create one CNN architectures. Okay, that means, but it is an empirical study. That means if somebody says that I am going to use 2 layers with the ReLU accretion function with the 30 filters, we need to justify that. They may ask what happened with 3 layers, the same number of filters or kernels, or what about exponential linear unit. Okay, there are many accretion functions. So empirically, we have to study the performance. So you can have 2 layers. We usually select like this: 2 layers, 3 layers, 5 layers, 7 layers. Then we will have 4 accretion functions, and we choose 3 sets of number of filters, then kernel size, the stride. Now for all these combinations, you can have n number of models. Then we will report the best model in terms of accuracy and model size and processing time, because the number of parameters, and sometimes we compare the performance of 2 methods in terms of computational time, but they use number of parameters. But even number of parameters less for method 1, number of parameters more for method 2, it does not mean that it will take computationally less, because sometimes the parameters require more time. Because I used the complicated architectures to produce the model. The model has less parameters, but architecture is complicated. So we should not directly compare that yes, the number of parameters less for a method 1, and this one blindly we cannot say that without it testing the processing time. So we have to in addition to number of parameters, we have to provide the processing time also. But number of parameters less in some cases, for example method 1 and method 2 number of parameters more, it may be consume more energy when I read the parameters. So there are 2 bottlenecks in reporting the results. Sometimes without seeing the complexity of the architecture with the reduced number of parameters may take more time also. So we have to be careful when you are reporting the results, that accuracy, number of parameters or model size, and also processing time. So processing time in a deep neural architecture should not be directly proportional. Not that model parameter increase means does not mean that processing time will increase. That depends upon your architecture complexity. Sometimes they use some other architecture. We are saying instead of exhaustive search, but they may have less parameters but more time. So sometimes they may use some segmentations, less. It will be what is called more parameters but less time, means less time because of the computation. So we can see that trade-off. So So when we are reporting the performance of all deep neural architecture, we should be careful that that number of parameters not directly proportional to the time. It depends upon the architecture that will be used for generating the models. So that's very important. But the number of parameters can be related to the energy consumption while testing it. So you are going to read the model parameters for testing. So sometimes the energy consumption can be calculated in terms of the number of parameters. More parameters, more energy consumption. So this is just a variant to RCNN. Faster RCNN is a single unified model. So it consists of again two modules. One is called region proposal network. So which we studied, we have seen from the previous slide. Then we have convolutional neural network for extracting the features from the proposed regions and outputting the bounding box and classes. So both modules operate on the same output of a deep CNN. The region proposal network acts as an attention mechanism for the fast RNA network. So informing the second network where to look or pay attention to. So that we can see this one is very. So there are modified block diagrams. It's all variants of RNA. But the approach means particularly the approach used for generating a region of proposal is same. So only they interchange the CNN, whether we want to have a raw image, then getting a region proposals, then applying a CNN, or we can have a feature map in the raw, then we can apply a region. So in that way they created many variants of RCNN. Always the algorithms are same. Yeah. So this one will just complete. If you have any doubts, you can discuss.
So I have one query. So if we are training the object detection algorithm, like I want to identify the balls within an image. Say there are two different colors of balls are there. So while training this kind of a model, do I need to train on a single image of ball, like I have one blue ball in my image, or I need to have multiple balls within an image and I need to give such level data set for training, which is preferable?
Yeah, that's the image I showed you, with the cat. So this is the one.
Yeah. So two cats are there. Do I need to have, while training also we need to give that
Yes.
for detection algorithm. So do I need to have two bounding boxes while training it, or should I give multiple cat images where single cats will be there? So
No,
how
that's
many
it.
images need to be collected?
That's why we started with whether it's image classification or object classification. So object detection means it has both object localizations and classification.
Yes.
So if I am not providing a labeling of each of this, then I cannot get a localization effect for what is called same group of objects with the different colors.
Yeah, but so for single image, multiple boxes are possible, right, as an output. When my image has three different cats,
Yeah.
three bounding boxes should be
Yes.
given as an output.
Yes,
But
yes.
while I train it, like I should have three different cat images, or like single images will be required, or I can have group of cat images for
You can
training.
we can have a single image with the, I can say multiple object, multiple
Multi-object
mul-
image.
multiple, you can say multiple objects, assuming that different object.
No,
We have to give proper bounding.
no.
I can have single image with the means multiple objects with the same group.
That is it.
I shown in the one of the slide that one lady sitting and the same face is there, her photo frame. So we have to provide a bounding box for both. That's the tedious job that we have to do actually. And you have to decide what type of object you are looking. Somewhere for a grass and some background images we said it is a noisy. So the noisy bounding box, or you can say noisy region proposal also has to be trained properly. So that's why all this pre-trained network, basically they have done a lot of research. We have to appreciate it. Like one of the good example is, nobody knows that we will get accurate GPS location. Nobody knows how much digitization is done by the Google. But they did it silently. So similarly, they did everything properly. They outsourced many people to label it. When you are means any banking or internet, means some website access, they give one image. Okay, choose steps. That is all for actually it's a business, multiple business. You are labeling it.
Yeah.
So that like this, they created so much data. Actually. So that's why pre-trained. We are assuming that all pre-trained networks are more accurate in terms of labeling, because every time we are saying that SVM is going to work with a class-wise object-specific classifier. Every object, if you have 10 object, distinct object, 10 SVMs we are going to have it. So we have to do proper labeling, bounding that.
One more question is that if I am looking for only specific color object, like I just want purple color, that only specific hex color code will be given. So that color object only if I am looking, in that case whether the pre-processing is required, because it may again disturb the color of the image. So sometimes we just apply multiple pre-processing steps and all, darkening it, brightness also can be changed. So in that again that hex color code will be also changed if I pre-process that.
Yeah.
Is that required to pre-process in such ways?
There are two applications. I have conducted the study for what is called life-threatening arrhythmias, which is called ventricular tachycardia and ventricular fibrillations. Okay, so that is based on ECG signal. Now, what is the frequency of ECG signal? For example, it is 0.1 Hz to 40 Hz. But most of the textbook for QRS detection, they say 6 to 20 Hz. But basically ECG bandwidth comes from 0.5 to 100 Hz as per the American Heart Association. Now clinical application, I take 0.5 to 40 Hz. But the signal is sampled at the rate of 360 Hz based on that database, MIT arrhythmia database. That means what? I can see highest frequency components with the values of 180 plus fs by 2. If it is sampled at 360, the maximum frequency that can be seen in the recorder signal will be fs by 2, holding frequency 180 I can see. What is the frequency of ECG? 0.5 to 40 Hz. Now the same ECG signal, okay, will be corrupted with various artifacts, because I use a single electrode, that is AGCCL electrode, to record ECG. The same electrode is used for recording muscle also, EMG. So when I do, when we see some kind of movements of the muscles while recording ECG, then muscle artifacts, or we can say muscle signal, will be added to your ECG, but muscle frequency ranges is larger, means wider than ECG spectrum, but it's overlapping. Then let us take non-overlapping portion of the muscle artifacts. 40 to 180 I can have. Okay, muscle artifacts will take from 1 Hz to some low frequency, but it will be wide spectrum. That means some portion of the muscle artifacts will be overlapping with the ECG. Then from 40 to 180 Hz, that muscle artifacts components not overlapping. Now, when I do arrhythmia classifications based on CNN architecture, I must cover all possibles of muscle artifacts. I don't have it. So what we did, we filter it. In the pre-processing stage, we filter, because the actual spectrum of ECG is within the range of 0.5 to 40 Hz. Then we filter it. That means what? It can reduce my database creation. And there is no need to have a ECG with muscle artifacts having 42. No need. So we have seen the improvement. That's why I call it as filter CNN. CNN also used for filtering many people.
Yeah.
But I said, you have to create so much database, no?
No.
Okay. So just put your one simple pre-processing. That's why we can say signal processing can also enforce the deep neural networks. Okay. Because database, all possibilities. There are some sounds are uncorrelated in the spectral domain. That means not overlapping in the spectral domain. But those sounds need not to be recorded for a training. Important. You have to understand what type of application you can apply pre-processing. That we have seen for ECG. You can apply for image processing also. Right? Because otherwise you have to create all possible noise cases. It is very challenging. Since it's not overlapping the spectrum, then it's good. So you will increase the reliability of the system, and also no need to create a database of ECG having a muscle artifacts greater than even a power line interference. These are the challenges. Assume that you did not consider, or I did not consider, a ECG signal with the power line interference of 50 Hz for ECG having frequency of 0.5 to 40 Hz. Then at the testing case, what will happen? So I do not know whether the database includes power line interference or not. But in the testing case, because my device is always with some electronic sources, I always get power line interference, which are unavoidable. Motion artifacts, movements are unavoidable. So how many motion artifacts you can create? My motion can be like this, somebody can stand like this. So all possible variation has to be considered. But if you want to reduce the database creation burden, then we should apply a simple filtering based on the applications. That's one way to reduce the database. Otherwise, we have to consider wide variety of database, including all. So, all our research work, my students generate more than 5 lakhs, because we collect muscle artifacts separately. We have many ECG database publicly available. We will collect all noise free. So we add muscle artifacts with the amplitude of 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 like this. Every students are having 5 lakhs. Now they have to train. That means what? We have considered all levels of the muscle artifacts. For the same ECG patterns, the muscle artifacts noise level is 0.1 or 0.2, 0.5. Even deep learning cannot do. If deep learning means what? If the learning process not seeing that type of signals, how you cannot put some kind of intelligence to that. So we should cover all variations, possible variations. So that usually my student, we create only accelerations. So one way is in medical application, no need to what is called process the noise data. So therefore our group is working on always quality hour system. If you type any quality hour is our work. Now we find many patterns for even deep learning. I have not shown anything there. All quality hour deep learning I am doing it. Okay. Because what is the use of giving an IC data to my deep learning, which is going to consume much energy, not going to give better accuracy. So you discard it. So all our framework is pre-processing. What you asked is pre-processing. It's called quality checking. This is one of the characteristics of big data. In big data analytics, one characteristic is data quality, data integrity. Otherwise we cannot do any accurate, reliable analysis. So this is all our whatever seen in this object classifications, they try to improve only the what is called region proposal generations. But now the same computational complexity or processing time can be improved if you apply compressive imaging. It's not adapted. So if you are doing any research related to object detections, try to do this object detection in a compressed imaging process. So there are two advantages if we go with the compressive imaging object detections. One is we will have less pixels, because that is well proven concept for a satellite image application, where in a satellite we have less energy, So they transmit only few pixels at the ground station. You can reproduce the original image. It's a well-known theory. It's called compressive imaging. In a signal processing, they say compressive sensing. So you can reproduce the original images from, for example, 16 cross 16. Similarly, 32 cross 32. So you can reproduce the original image with the same resolution based on the sparse recovery algorithms. So now, ultimately, I know all these algorithms. So now everyone is showing that these algorithms are doing well. So only one job I can do is I will put a pre-processing. I will apply the same algorithm on the measurement. So I will get a compressed image of object, even image. So the grid we are switching before applying a what is called region proposal generation network. We will do compressed sensing, which is very simple projection. You will have a again sensing matrix in a sensing matrix. You will multiply with the images. We will get a, for example, 256 cross 256 can be reduced to 16 cross 16. Assuming that 16 cross 16 images sufficient to pixels or measurements are sufficient to reproduce the same. It is well proven concept. We used for medical imaging. It's well proven. But that concept can be applied here, showing that I am going to process only less number of pixels or measurements. Instead of processing 256 cross 256, we can process 16 cross 16 or 32. So obviously we will get 1/4 of the result. We applied for all biomedical signal and we got good detection, 1/4. Energy consumption, model size, not much variation in the accuracy. Accuracy is slightly 1 or 2 variations, not much. So that can be adopted here. So that means when you do pre-trained networks, when you use pre-trained network, you should also use this compressed sensing in the training process of that. Then when you testing also you can use it. You can study. So that's one way to have new research. So not much work in this directions. No, actually, if you want anything, you can contact me because my PhD students all will not only just work, they will implement everything on Raspberry Pi. Okay, so we are giving training to even many IITs also, IITs, NITs, and other courses, because they try to demonstrate the models that can be implemented on Raspberry board and practical. So we developed through all imaging applications with the deep learning architectures. Then we also developed we developed what is called Wi-Fi sensing. That's you can use Wi-Fi signals to sense a person's. That is called YC. It's proposed by MITs, and so we did that work also. Wi-Fi sensing. In every room you can see. Okay, Wi-Fi based sensing. Every room you have Wi-Fi. So in Wi-Fi you can get two signatures. One is called RSSI, that is Received Sequence Strength Indicator. Another one is CSI. So I can use these CSI signatures to detect a person's inside this room without using any additional camera. That is called device-free sensing. Now I can also sense the activity of a person with this Wi-Fi signatures. So that is also implemented with the Raspberry board. So if you want to implement on Raspberry board, we can give some training online. So yes, I thought that I have to radar system. We did many things just try to
Because students can do.
Evening I will not be there. Somebody is entering.
Okay.
Can I use it? So we did it real time.
Security purposes.
Yeah.
CCTV can be replaced.
That is called device free.
Device free.
That's why it was proposed as a device free human sensing. Later they implemented for number of persons in a room and also activity. And in beyond some extent people say YC. but I have to study. I have not.
Just it is a
Person has to be connected to that Wi-Fi or no?
No,
Just the
but the
internet.
Wi-Fi is there. I have access point and transmission point. If somebody sends me, yeah, it's very
If someone is trying to access it
because
beyond the
you are disturbing the channel, no? You are disturbing the channel. That's why I told that CSC channel state information gives this information. We are exploring that CSI and we implement in real time, and this is the one nicely working. I can make it, this is a demo we made. We can give this. So this speed we have implemented in Raspberry Pi. So then yeah, this is the one I explained. That filtered CNN and filtered CNN, where we can see in the filtered CNN. So most of the work we've done, whatever I presented is based on my observation. So we can extend for many things. Okay? So here I show without filtering CNN what is the improvement and the different block also. This is the one I told. So sometimes we always say that everyone is working in the data science, we should publish a paper in data science, otherwise people are not understand. Sometimes. Even I am not getting students. If I am not working working with deep learning, students are not coming. Signal processing means they are not coming. So I have to change my working style also now. So I started, okay. So where here I just want to prove to the community, means some students or some faculty. And yes, there are some places we can get a higher accuracy without CNN deep learning. If I go through the knowledge, if you see this exactly, here you have small lines now, which is crossing to 0, nearly crossing. If you see these images, the lines are not close to this 0. So what we did, I injected a noise to this. For each signal I injected the noise. So noise means instead of noise I said 0.1 minus 0.12 plus 0.1, alternate sign change I injected here. Now for these cases I will have more zero crossing. Obviously for these two my injected minus 0.12 plus 0.1 will be superimposed, will not have much number of zero crossing. So these are the ventricular tachycardia and fibrillation. So just counting number of zero crossing I am able to discriminate, you see. So this is the just one example. So this is the zero crossing rate, and we can see all non-VTVF without injecting of the what is called minus 0.1 to plus 0.1. After injecting, you can see the cluster is nicely formed. No need to use CNN. So I compared with the CNN single feature, same accuracy and getting. So this is single feature, but thing is we need a knowledge. That's one way to say that how to choose a technique depends upon the constraint of the resource constraint of the embedded system. This is very important because when we get ventricular defibrillations and all, no, we have to apply immediate shock. It's called external defibrillator. If I put CNN on external defibrillator itself is tiny, it's inside. We have to provide a shock. So we increase more energy consumption. We cannot charge it properly. So we need a lightweight. This is a lightweight apparatus. So this blood pressure estimation, all these things are developed. This is very interesting. I just want to highlight that yes, this type of work also can be published in IEEE. Have you studied this one anywhere in your
Physics, I remember something.
Yeah, differential pulse code modulation. It's a PhD work of my student. Okay, he joined NIT Calcutta recently as a fellow. He just explored that DPCM to get pulse rate. So he is getting a compression and also he is getting the pulse rate, the same architecture. That's why integrated data compression. So we need to explore this way, that a single framework perform data compression and also pulse rate estimation without additional signal processing techniques. It's very simple, no? But people say, how do you publish? He published in 1990. Because he proved it. You see, I get a quantization error like this with a 3-bit representation. If I smooth this one, I get exactly 0 crossing. He detected, he got both compression and what is called. So it's all, sometimes we have to apply our. So one more thing, so I just want to show that just to see what is blind training and yeah, smart. I am helping some companies. This is our product. We will send it very soon. This is signal fault assessment was done by my master students. So here only, we introduced blind training and engineer training. So when she started the work, because when you try to use automatic speech recognition system under the what is called train noise conditions, we may not get best translation because of severe noise of trains. It's always having overlapping spectrum. So I asked her to check the quality of the speech before applying existing ASR system. Okay. So she just downloaded many things and she conducted the study. She got 58, 78. Then when I cross-checked their database, so somewhere I can see backgrounds of the others noises about. So I asked her to create a clean database. Then we can see the improvement. That's why we say engineer training, blind training. Engineer means as an engineer I should know quality technique. So she also implemented in real time. This was implemented in office and all. So she's currently PhD in architecture. So there are many work we can do. But whatever the work we do, we have to create one database and we should implement on a Raspberry platform. It supports most of this. It's a simple algorithm, Arduino. Even TinyML is there in Arduino. So
just testing those databases on the Arduino.
there is a TinyML, small lightweight model can be implemented with Arduino. If the model is very large, for example, all this speech quality, human sensing, I have the result of Kirwal imaging also. That is also, all are implemented on Raspberry Pi. It will work real time.
Just for the testing. Training you create.
Training I will do offline.
Yeah.
Because I am not going to do any adaptive machine learning in any application. But if there is a need of adaptive learning, we should use GPU.
So for a product, can we use this TinyML Arduino product? Okay.
It's available in, you can buy it.
Yeah, if you are going to sell this project and if you are using this Arduino TinyML.
No, all these works were implemented on Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
There are lightweight machine learning models can be implemented in TinyML. Not this deep.
Okay.
That TinyML is only for lightweight machine, other machine learning, the light model.
Okay. Deep learning
No,
models
all
cannot
Raspberry
be
Pi
deployed
light.
in that.
Training we should.
But all these previous algorithms, what is
I
that?
think sir said like his product is about to
Launch.
release soon.
Sorry. So actually these are the study we carried out in real time. Actually, my student went to railway station, standing there and getting the accuracy. Okay, then we have to prove, yes, train noise cases it will not work. So we got good inference. So we made, this is the way we studied. What are the, this will be a pre-processing for all. I think we implemented only this. This one we implemented on Arduino. All compressed sensing framework we implemented on Arduino. Because we have to see if you implement anything on Arduino and you can easily publish because they may expect a hardware reception. Otherwise they will think that they are reproducing the industry. That is a good technique.
Contact details. So first slide only sir.
But this Wi-Fi one, many can work. If somebody is working wireless, then you can explore the LoRa. That we study with only Wi-Fi. Bluetooth also can be explored. The same thing you can use it for gesture recognition. We are creating database. If I have two Wi-Fi's in my laptop, if I do any gesture, because some company wants a new product, so new versions. So yeah,
So today you can enjoy practicals yourself with all the knowledge what sir has shared, and yesterday's codes are also there. Or you can leave.
तो स्टार्ट हो गया 20 मिनट्स का टाइमर रहेगा और यहाँ पे ग्रीन लाइट आएगा ग्रीन लाइट बंद हुआ मतलब
To day 4 of this FDP. Today we have with us Dr. M. Sabarimalai from IIT Palakkadshared. Sir is working as an associate professor in Department of Electrical Engineering in IIT Palakkadshared. Prior to that he was working in IIT Bhubaneswar and Samsung Noida. Sir has published more than 90 research papers in various reputed journals and conferences. And sir is a recipient of various academic awards as well. Sir, I welcome you for the session.
there is no okay.
I think we are comfortable. Yesterday the speaker denied mic. We had in LRCC a
No problem.
strength was small, so we yes.
Ma'am, before we begin the session, can we please have a can I request you to please sit there, sir?
I was thinking something but missed it. Same, please sit. Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
So, very good morning to all. Thank you for the invitations to deliver a talk on object detection algorithm. So, before starting this different kinds of object detection algorithm, first of all, we must know what are the different challenges. So, we have different type of cameras or sensors to collect the one-dimensional, two-dimensional, multi-dimensional data. Once we detect the data or we collect signals or images and video, we like to perform various tasks on the processor, which is most of the time we know the signal processor or the GPU. And to detect a specific type of events, classifications, or you can say event detection, or you can say event predictions. And once we detect a specific type of events, we like to transmit or store the data. So now, by considering all these aspects, we must develop or we must choose a suitable computation techniques. Because when I say sensor, camera, there are variety of cameras for the same kind of target detection or object detection. I can use a RGB camera, I can use an infrared camera, I can use hyperspectral image camera, I can use a night vision camera. So now in the sensing stage itself, the modality of the data is different, and also we can see various kinds of noises and artifacts. The noise and artifacts that we see for RGB camera will be different from what we see for a hyperspectral images. So if I do not know what type of camera or a sensor that will be used for collecting a data, then I cannot develop a reliable, accurate, even I know deep learning networks. So therefore I just want to highlight that what type of camera that will be used for our sensor, that will be used for collecting information, or we can say images or videos. And then processing is very important, because we would like to provide intelligence to the users, or most of the computer vision applications we like to have a real-time applications. So in a traffic environment, we want to detect what is the number of vehicles entering a specific zone, or in a facial recognitions. So all the outputs, I mean particularly all the applications, we have to provide a result in a fraction of second or in this. So we must know how to choose or how to select a suitable processor. In the sense, there is no problem with the what is called high-speed processor nowadays, because we have GPU. The problem is that the deployment scenario. We are going to deploy all these applications in an energy constraint environment. I have smartphone and that is enabled with multi-core processors. I have camera, I have multiple sensors I can collect, but the energy is the bottleneck for most of the applications. So how do you develop a energy efficient architecture? I know deep learning, but we have to know how to reduce the energy consumptions for specific type of applications. And the transmission is another aspect that's also not a big problem nowadays, because we are dealing with the 5G network, we have sufficient amount of data rate. But even if we have a very good high, or we can say high data rate wireless radios, but the transmission incurs so much energy compared to the consumptions. Okay? Sorry, processor. So in that case, how do you means what type of protocol that you can implement that when you want to transmit a video or images to the cloud or edge computing platform? So these are the different challenges: accuracy, reliability, and power consumption, model size, which requires basically memory space or storage space, and then latency is very important. So, but this statement is very interesting, that object detection using deep learning networks can provide a fast and accurate means to predict the location and size of an object in an image. Ideally, the network returns valid object in a timely manner, regardless of the scale of the object. So the challenge is that the objects are with the different sizes in a particular image. How do you develop or means we have to find a suitable algorithms to detect different kinds of objects with different orientations and different sizes. But it's very interesting, it's a fast. Actually, you should not say that it's a deep learning network is a fast. Okay? We do not know, that depends upon the model size. Maybe a traditional or conventional methods of object detection is much faster than deep neural networks for specific type of applications. So we cannot say like this, but we need to prove it all these statements by selecting a suitable processors and architectures. So now I always group the applications or practical applications like the automation, which includes control and monitoring. The monitoring in the sense, I like to have event monitoring, target monitoring, and biometrics. And then we want to add some features which is called smartness or smart, sometimes we say intelligence. So nowadays we are saying everywhere smart healthcare, smart transportation, and smart vehicles. So, what do you mean event monitoring? We like to do some kind of detection, segmentation, classification, recognition, and predictions. So specific type of events need to be monitored. So that means it includes event detections, event classifications, event localizations, and event predictions. These are the sequence of operations that we need to do if you want to develop energy efficient. What we are doing as academic research, sometimes I have a database, I try to do classification without doing detection. But if I go with the detection, then classifications, I can improve the energy efficiency, I can reduce the false alarms. There are many cases we have proven it for other biomedical applications. We can also verify it for other practical applications. So first of all, you need to do detection, and then once you know, the detection can be, I can say in this case, it can be a normal and abnormal. Sometimes I will say normal and abnormal. The normal itself will have a variety of normal objects, and abnormal itself we will have a variety of abnormal objects. So we would like to classify the abnormal objects into some other abnormal object, 1, abnormal, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can have n number of classes for abnormal category. Yeah, n number of yeah. So that is called object classification. or you can say event classification. Once you detect normal events and abnormal events, so with the examples of like a cardiac arrhythmias, I can say, so it can be a sinus arrhythmia, it can be a premature ventricular contraction, it can be a atrial fibrillation. Similarly, in the object also, I can say, so animals and flowers and trees. But within the animals, I can have different kind of groups. So we have to classify it. First of all, we have to perform a detection. Then we can make it in the whether it's a target, for example, drone detection applications. So in the drone detections, drone is a flying vehicles, but we can also see the birds also another flying objects. So how do you discriminate these two? Okay. So there will be a classification task. So once you know the classifications, then some of the applications you need to locate, because that's very important. And in the case of a target, we say that tracking. Okay, after locating, we have to track the events. And then sometimes, once you know some specific type of events that are occurred in a specific scenario, we can also predict what type of events that will happen in future. So it's a prediction. So in all these detection, classifications, localization and predictions, we can use the deep learning architectures, and we can compare the performance with the traditional image processing techniques or computer vision based techniques. In the case of target monitoring, we have estimations, target estimations and localization and tracking. In the case of biometrics, we have identification and verifications. Identification means one to many comparisons, and verification means one to one. So face, for example, face based means fingerprint based biometrics, face biometrics, weighing biometrics. There are a number of biometrics. So all these research problems under the topics of automations, particularly monitoring. And then we must consider any one of the challenges when we try to address any one of the problems. I cannot provide a solutions to all three categories of target monitoring or all three categories of event monitoring. I may work in the prediction problem or detection problem, but I try to take one of the challenges or one or two challenges where we can improve the energy efficiency, or we can improve the processing time or reducing the computational load. In some of the applications, the contextual information also play a major role. For example, I want to recognize a specific type of event. Let us take a pulse rate. It's one of the examples. We can correlate with other examples. So we have wearable devices or wristband. It continuously measures the pulse rate. The pulse rate reflects what the number of beats per minute. It gives the number of pulses generated at the sinus artery node. It's a regular pulse or an irregular pulse. But the function of the heart can be very, or it can be affected by various variables like emotions. You can see the variation in the pulse rate. Or under any weather, the extreme weather conditions, extreme heat, extreme cold, you can see the variation in the pulse rate. Under different activities, if you are running, if you are sleeping, or if you are walking, then pulse rate will be different. So like this we can see that the different contextual information play a major role in providing accurate diagnostic for cardiovascular disease by using only heart rate. So that means the heart rate cannot be useful, cannot be used by the doctor if I use the wristband, because you do not know at the time of delivering of the data whether I am smoking or drinking. That also impacts my heart rate. So that is called contextual information. So if this is there in all the applications, we can bring a different kind of contextual information into that particular what is called event monitoring, event detection, event classification, event predictions. So these are the major challenges. How do you incorporate all contextual information to improve the accuracy and the reliability of this type of event monitoring, target monitoring, and biometrics? Now, before going to the object detections, we must know some basic we studied in many of the textbooks. What is the image classifications and what is the object detection? Why the object detection is so important in the case of computer vision based applications? The image classification, it predicts a type of an object or a class of an object in an image. The input to a system is an image with a single object, such as a photograph. Output from a system is a single class or a class of number. So you can know which will be the best application for image classification. Can you suggest which will be the image classification applications? Because most of the students are also confused with these two courses. They said that I already studied what is called image processing. Why do you study computer vision next semester?
The image is cancerous or not?
Yeah, because many of the students or many of
Confusion.
we do not know what is the difference in the computer vision techniques and image processing techniques. So what is the image classifications? Can you suggest some applications where we can say this can be a example for image classification? We have seen in this slide that there are biometrics applications, target detections, target identifications. Can you suggest some of the practical applications which can be huh? Leave disease detection. Okay, then
Running on the road also vehicles or person or who is standing, person is there or vehicles are there, so that we
okay.
can classify.
Emotion recognition through face
Emotion
images.
recognition, biometric
Yeah.
applications.
So one
leave
more
disease.
thing, like RBCs and WBCs we can identify for the further diseases from the body. So that images also we can take and classify it.
Yeah. So if you see, if the object class is not known, we have not to only determine the locations but also predict the class of the object. The object detection algorithms create a bounding box around the desired object in an image after identifying the presence of object. Actually, the entire computation techniques based on the deep learning is proposed based on this statement. There are many phrases here. So that means what I do not know what is the name of the object, but there are some applications I want to know the object. There are 10 objects in a given image. I want to separate each of the objects. That is, I want to do fruit classifications or fruit identification. In a market, in a bucket basket, you can find a number of fruits. You have to identify the type of fruits. Sometimes the number of fruits can mean based on that you can say what is the highest probability for particular basket. Even if you have mixture of fruits. So if you have vehicle means in a crowd means transportation scenario or small transportation. So you can see a number of vehicles are crossing. So you have camera or you have a particular camera is video. So in a given video, a particular image can contain many vehicles also. So you want to identify a specific type of vehicles crossing the border or crossing the traffic line at a specific time, because some of the cities they said that during these hours they will allow only the four wheelers, particularly that heavy vehicles are not allowed, like tractors and lorries. So we have to do some kind of object classifications. But sometimes they say that in addition to the identifying object, we must track also locations. We have to track that object, the movement of the object, particular scenario you want to track. Okay. So that means if the object class is not known, so then we have to see that what type of techniques that can be used for classifying the object, and also we need to determine the location of the object. So this is very important, but in most of the signal processing, for example, whenever you want to detect a spikes in a waveforms, okay, so we always use the concept of overlapping blocks and non-overlapping block processing. So same things are adopted in the image processing also. That means a given signal will be divided into a number of blocks in a overlapping manner and also a non-overlapping manner. If I go with the non-overlapping manner, I may get less number of blocks, but I may miss some specific type of events. Okay. So therefore, sometimes they say some applications we need only frequency information, some applications we need only time information. So similarly here, we want to locate that object, in the sense, in a specific applications we need to locate, but most of the image processing or video applications, we don't want to know the location, or we don't want to locate also. But some of the applications we want to find the locations of the objects. Okay. But similarly in the signal processing also we need to have a better timing information or temporal information to detect a specific type of short-term events. So now we do the block processing. Similarly here also they do some concept is called a patches. It's called this entire computer visions, and particularly based on deep learning. They used patches, regions, okay, patches, regions, otherwise they say bounding boxes. So now, in a signal processing, we say block processing in terms of overlapping and otherwise non-overlapping. If I go with the overlapping, I'll get a better timing accuracy of specific type of event detection, but I need to process that many number of blocks, which are, I'll get. Now, which are, that means what, the number of blocks that need to be processed will be higher than the number of blocks that we process in the non-overlapping block. So there is a trade-off policy. So the entire trade-off concept is applied here. They proposed various kinds of convolutional neural network based. They say region based, then fast region based, then faster region based, then YOLO. These are based on just how do you reduce the computational complexity without compromising the accuracy of localization, object localization. Okay. There is a trade-off. The example of a signal, I just want to have better time resolutions. I need to divide the signal into overlapping blocks. Now, what will be overlapping blocks? Shall we go with those one sample shifting of blocks in terms? Basically, it's a kind of, for example, block is with 100 samples. I'll say 99 samples are overlapping. Similarly, they also started with a sliding window concept in creation of patches. Then that will be used with the CNN to extract the features. This is basic concept. Nothing is new here. It is just adapted from the signal processing. Instead of one sample movement, we say 99 samples overlapping, and I'll go with a 2 sample movement shifting. We'll play, but we do not know. So that's why we have to publish. Whatever we do, we have to publish. That's very important. So, but in all this DNN, the importance is vanishing gradient over fitting computational load. So now, if you see the artificial neural network, it's not a new concept, but because of the computational load, it was not exploited in most of the applications. But after the advancement in the GPU, the graphic processing unit, particularly we have to say thanks to NVIDIA, because they developed that one, they did not find this, what is called platform to sell it. There are, actually, it's a kind of business plan. So they want to sell it, then they come up with, yes, this is the actual application where we can show the importance of the GPU. So they have taken many examples, they create their own source code, they encourage many of the researchers to come up with the new architectures, to implement it on their processor and to show that, yes, there is an improvement in the accuracy, but that is possible only with this GPU platform to get the fast trained models. Okay. Yeah, that's the one method. The vanishing gradient and overfitting will be solved in different approaches. So now we must know some more terminologies that solutions to the vanishing gradient is using the rectified linear unit function as the activation function. So in a deep neural architecture, we know the function of the activation function. The role of the activation function is to compute the weights and the bias, and also decide whether to fire the neurons. That is the purpose of this activation function. Now there are n number of activation functions, but some of the research work or some of the research group extensively used this rectified linear unit activation function for the problems. So now what happened, many of the research group, they use the same database, same maybe different number of layers, but the same activation function. So what we have done in our current research work, in particularly the biomedical signal analysis, we also try to find the optimal activation function in addition to the optimal hyperparameters in terms of number of convolution layers, filter size and the stride. These are the 3 optimal parameters that we need to do in a convolution layer stage. So you can decide how many number of filters you want to use and what is the filter size and what is the stride. Okay? Then we can see some improvement in the accuracy. That we have seen for signals, most of the signal processing applications, particularly ECG and PPG signal analysis. And the second stage is that what is the optimal activation function. Even though this is what is called popular or promoted by many of the people, that yes, it is going to solve the problem of vanishing gradient, but there are some more activation functions. There are variants of activation functions like leaky RLU, that exponent linear unit. So there are like more than 15 activation functions. You can see one of the research papers. So now as a researcher, I can also suggest what will be the best activation functions for specific type of applications. For example, leaf disease analysis or animal detections or human detections. Maybe different activation function can give a different accuracy. So that we have seen it. But some of the ECG quality assessment, we found that the exponential linear unit activation function was performing better than the relay in the same number of layers and the filter size. So in that way, we can demonstrate the contributions. Otherwise, some others they'll ask you use the same trained network, what is the contribution? Contribution will be finding the optimal filters. Okay. So otherwise, you have to have set of means ranges of your number of filters, ranges of your filter size, ranges of your activation functions. You have to again run the program, okay, in a cloud, and you can come up with the optimal. That way also you can do. So finding the optimal hyperparameters, finding the optimal or not optimal, best activation function. That's very important. So overfitting, the reason that the DNN is vulnerable to overfitting is that the model becomes more complicated as it includes more hidden layers and hence more weight. Then sometimes we use the concept of dropout layer, which is a dropout rate of, it can be 25%, 50%. That's some applications. You will see one of the scenario. Yeah. So in a simplest way to understand what is convolutional neural network, which is also known as ConNet, the feature extractor has been designed by experts of a specific areas which was independent of machine learning. So now the deep learning architectures, particularly this convolutional neural network, we have a convolutional layer. The purpose is to extract the features, which is the output of the convolutional layer is a feature map. Now it's a similar to edge detection only. So you have image, you are choosing a 3x3 kernel. It can be a Gaussian kernel, or it can be a derivative Gaussian kernel, or it can be something else. You can have one kernel also, or you can choose 6x6. You are mapping on the image, you are getting the values. So the values are called feature map. Now I can have, instead of having one filter, because I derived elements of that 3x3 from your Gaussian kernel. But what is happening in wavelet? It are multi-scales, means kernels in a different coefficients you are getting it. You are able to capture all different kinds of information. Short-term memory, it has specific applications. So whenever you want to capture the sequence information, for example, we are using this one extensively in speech processing, okay, or language processing or a text processing, because you can see that sequence informations are most important in predicting it. So now, depending on the application, you have to decide whether you are going to use the convolutional neural network or LSTM architectures. But all these convolutional neural network can be used for detection problem. So even our job is to check the quality of the speech, but I can use the LSTM architecture also to check the quality of the speech, because I am assuming that the sequential information of the speech can be captured. But if I come to a highly corrupted noise speech, I cannot ensure that sequence information also. So therefore here our job is to use different architectures to identify which architecture performs well for a same wave spectrum or a spectrogram. So we studied the performance of both convolutional neural network and LSTM, and also bidirectional LSTM for a wave spectrum and the spectrogram of a speech to check the quality of the speech before processing it. So these are the set of what is called deep learning architectures. You can get all these libraries for your applications. In addition to that, we can also see that various kinds of trained CNN architectures. We start with the LeNet, and you can see for specific. So you can see each of the trained networks used various kinds of images or signals. So we are trying to adapt it. So instead of using this one, you can also create your own networks. Okay, you can construct the convolutional neural network with the 2-layer, 4-layer, with the 10 convolutional layers and 2 dropout layers and 3, or you can say 2 patch normalization layers and then 2 pooling layers, or you can have 1 fully connected layers. So you can have own architectures also for your problems, or you can use the trained networks. So for that we must know the what type of database they used for creating this type of trained network, because each of the industry they had different applications, but most of the industries created a trained network for with the images, because they found huge application of image processing. But if I want to do for a sound, then I should have a sound net. Okay, so I should collect all kinds of a sound. Then the same sound network can be used for detecting a hot sound, even it is not in the database also, but still I can use a trained sound network. But we have to cover all kinds of sound in terms of frequencies. So similarly, images were created, or we can say objects were trained with this. So AlexNet, there are specific architectures. ResNet is a specific architectures, and then VGG, and with the different numbers also we can see in terms of number of layers. Then VGG 19, then GoogleNet, then InceptionNet, MobileNet. These are different networks available. You can adapt for your applications, but you can also construct your own architecture. You can compare the performance of this type of architecture also when you use the transfer learning with the trained networks. So I must organization, what is the improvement? Came for this. So similarly here we have something is called patch in organization. Okay, that's also concept of variance. So that means what are the blocks that we studied in the machine learning? We can see their presence also in the deep learning, but in a connected manner with an iterative way of finding or fine-tuning the features with the improvement of the accuracy. So that's a concept which is summarized here. Pulling layers, normalization, you can see this is the normalization. So now, convolutional neural network includes the feature extracted in the training phase rather than designing it manually. So it's also a wrong statement. It's not manually, it's a knowledge based. Okay, nothing is okay. We have to give importance to us also. No? Yes. I know that this imaging class.